Let's take a sankalpa. Right. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yes. So we were looking into Gnyaana Yoga in the previous class. We've already seen. Yes, so we've already seen what is Pramanam. Pramanam means an instrument of knowledge. Then we've seen Pramata. Pramata means the person who uses this Pramanam. Then Prama. Prama is the knowledge, the Jnanam that is generated out of using the Pramanam by the Pramata. And then Prameyam. Prameyam is the object of knowledge, the object of that Jnanam. So these were some technical terms that we saw. Then we also saw which are the 5 Paurusheya Pramanams, right? We saw Pratyaksha Pramanam. Pratyaksha Pramanam means direct perception, something that we can directly perceive, whether it is something external, which we perceive through our 5 senses, or something internal, which we perceive through our mind. Say hunger, thirst, joy, sorrow, pleasure, pain. So all those things, they are Pratyaksha Pramanam. You can directly perceive them. Then the next Pramanam was Anuman Pramanam. Anuman means inference. Out of something that you already know, हम अनुमान लगा रहे हैं कि ऐसा ही होगा. The example that we give is smoke and fire. By looking at smoke, we can deduce that there must be fire somewhere. Then Upamana Pramanam. Upamana Pramanam means comparison of similarities between 2 things. That is how we come to know something that we do not know, by comparing it with something that we already know. The example that we gave was of the cow and the bull. Then the next is Arthapatti Pramanam. Arthapatti means postulation. कुछ चीज हमेशा से हो रही है, उसके बेसिस पे we are postulating certain things. Based on our observation, we are postulating certain things. That is Arthapatti Pramanam. Remember the example that we gave was, there was this a person who was like constantly putting on weight, and that person is saying that मैं पूरा दिन कुछ भी नहीं खाता हूँ. So we deduce, we postulate that the person must be eating at night. Otherwise, there is no reason why he is putting on weight like that. And finally, Anupalabdhi Pramanam. Anupalabdhi Pramanam means unavailability. So that also we said that it is very similar to direct perception only. Through our senses, we are perceiving the absence of something. In Pratyaksha Pramanam, we were perceiving the presence of something. In Anupalabdhi Pramanam, we are perceiving the absence of something. Okay. So these are the 5 Paurusheya Pramanams that we saw. Now with all these instruments, with all these Paurusheya Pramanam, the 5 Pramanams, we are only capable of gaining the knowledge of the external world, the objective universe. Remember what is objective, what is subjective? Objective, the experienced, and subjective, the experiencer. So using these 5 pramanams, we can only gain knowledge of this objective universe, the external world. So none of these instruments are capable of studying the very subject behind these instruments. So this is the fundamental limitation of the Pancha Paurusheya Pramana. These Pancha Pramanas, which we saw, the Paurusheya Pramanas, this is the fundamental limitation of all these 5 Pramanams, the 5 instrument of knowledge. And this is the intrinsic limitation of perception and inference, because we divided, we just combined, and the 5 Paurusheya Pramanams, we made it into 2, right? The direct perception and inference, Pratyaksha and Anumana. So this is the intrinsic limitation of these 2 Pramanams. And therefore, this is the intrinsic limitation of even science, right? Because we already said that science can study only the objective universe, never the real self, never the subject, right? It is a bit abstract, you know. I mean, if one of you also turn on your video, then I can at least know that what's happening. But yeah, anyways, so it is a bit abstract, so we'll take an example to understand it better. Okay. Yeah, so I think, oh, okay, the host is already left, the admin. All right, so I'm sorry, then we can't turn it on because the admin has left and there is some problem on their end. Let me see if I can turn it. Shivani, you can try now. Okay. So let us take an example to understand these abstract concepts a little better. So our own eyes, okay? So our own eyes, they can see everything in the creation, right? Everything that is directly perceivable, our eyes can see. But what can our eyes not see? Unfortunately, eyes have got a peculiar limitation. The eyes cannot see themselves, because like at this level, okay, at this level, the eyes are the subject. They are the experiencer, and they cannot become the object. They cannot become the experience. They are not the absolute subject. Okay, remember that. At this level, who is the experiencer? Eyes are the experiencer. They are the subject. So they cannot become the object. They cannot become experienced. So using our eyes, we can never study our eyes. Therefore, the law is that the subject is never available for objective study. Therefore, the eyes are incapable of seeing the eyes themselves. Similarly, I, the self, cannot study myself. I, the absolute self, the real self, can never study myself. The subject can never become the object of study. But there is one way to see my own eyes. So what is that way? How can I see my own eyes? You guys can't even unmute yourself? Yes, correct. Through a mirror. So if I use an external object like a mirror, then I can surely study my own eyes. I can surely see my own eyes. But for that, I cannot be arrogant that I will not take support from anything external, and I will just try to see my eyes on my own only. So I have to be humble enough to accept that my eyes cannot directly see themselves, right? And therefore, I require the assistance of an external factor, which in this case, it is a mirror. So only with the help of a mirror or any other reflective surface, I can see my own eyes. So I should be humble enough to use the appropriate pramanam, which in this case is the mirror. Only then I can see my eyes. Now, similarly, since all the Paurusheya Pramanam, okay, all these Paurusheya Pramanam which we saw, all the 5, which are a part of me, they are through my own faculties, right? So when they are inadequate to give me self-knowledge, so if I have to see or know or study my own self, then I will have to learn to take help of another external object, an external factor. I have to accept the necessity of this, of a 6th pramanam, which is other than these 5 pramanas. This 6th pramanam, which we will talk about, that will serve as a mirror for seeing my own self. I can't keep saying that I want to look at the eyes with my own eyes. In the same way, I can't keep saying that without any external help, I will want to know myself. So I have to firstly accept the necessity of the 6th pramanam. I have to accept the necessity of the mirror in case of the eyes. So this external pramanam. So what is that external pramanam in case of self-knowledge? It is the Shastra Pramanam. The Shastra Pramanam or the Veda, the scriptural teaching. It is called Shabda Pramanam. So this Shastra Pramanam or Shabda Pramanam, it is not already with me, right? It is not one of my faculties. It is external. It has to be brought from outside like a mirror. Therefore, and it is not limited by any of the human limitations. Therefore, it is called a Paurusheya Pramanam. It does not belong to any of the human faculties. It is not a human instrument of knowledge like the other 5 which we saw. And so, it is free from the human limitations. It is free from Purusha Buddhi doshas. All right. So unless we accept the Apaurushaya Pramanam or the Vedas or the Shastras, there is no way to know ourselves. So if we be arrogant and refuse to use the mirror or any such reflecting surface, we'll never be able to know our own eyes. We'll never be able to study what our eyes are like. In the same way, it is this Apaurushaya Pramanam, this Shastra Pramanam, using which alone we can know our true self. So here is where we introduce the importance of Shastra Pramanam. And again, remember that this does not mean that we are asking you to have blind faith on the Shastras. It is like after seeing your eyes in the mirror, you need not go and check with any other instrument, right? You are logically and by your own experience, by these 2 things, okay? Logically, yukti, and experience, anubhava. You are convinced that your eyes surely do look like what the mirror pramanam is showing to you. Correct? Mirror जो हमको दिखा रहा है, वो हमारी eyes वैसे ही दिखती है, वो चीज, वो बात पे हम convinced है. We do not need to use any other pramanam कि नहीं शायद mirror झूठ बोल रहा है, मैं किसी और इंस्ट्रूमेंट कोई और प्रमाणम यूज करके देखती हूँ कि मेरे आईज कैसे दिख रहे हैं. You do not do that. You have Shraddha on the mirror, right? Based on what? Based on logic and experience. Based on yukti and anubhava. So the faith on Shastra Pramanam is also faith pending inquiry. And inquiry happens through yukti and anubhava. So we always say Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava, right? So the Vedas, logic and experience. So Deepak ji is asking, शास्त्रों में वही सब है ना जो हमने सीखा है? तो क्या सीखा है दीपक जी? एज इन ये क्लास में जो सीखा है वो डेफिनेटली मैं, it is from the Shastras, okay? I am not putting anything of my own. But yes, हाँ जी दीपक जी, in this class, it's everything is from the Shastras. All right. So this is clear. We have to get this external pramanam, which is Shastra pramanam, because the 5 Paurushaya pramanam are capable of doing the subjective study. So we have to get an external pramanam, like the mirror. Now, the next thing that we need to note is that even though the mirror is capable of showing us our eyes, our face, it is possible only and only if we know how to use the mirror properly. है ना? अगर instead of looking at the reflecting surface, okay, the reflecting side, if we look at the other side, then it is wrong usage, right? अगर wrong usage करेंगे तो हमको we'll not be able to see our eyes. Or there could be another reason. If the reflecting surface, we are looking at the reflecting surface only of the mirror, but that reflecting surface is full of dust, and then we try to look at ourselves in the mirror without cleaning the dust, then again it is wrong usage. So anything, any instrument will help us only if we know how to use it. है ना? In the same way, Shastram or scriptures can help us only if we study the scriptures properly, in the correct, only if we know the correct usage. Nahi to, it might take us to durvichara. Avichara hoga, tab tak bhi it is okay. If you're not thinking, still it is okay. But it might lead you to some wrong conclusions. So it is very important that we know the correct usage. So it is like a disclaimer given over here, which we've already spoken about, hai na, pehle, that if we try to study the scriptures on our own through reading books or translations or anything on our own, then we get into this another big problem of avichara or durvichara, means not understanding, or even worse, wrong understanding. The reason is that, see, our scriptures are not like other forms of literature. It is a unique subject matter. That is, I, the real self, okay, the absolute subject. It can never become an object. It can never be experienced, because I am the subject. I am the absolute subject, and I will always remain the subject. So I can never be experienced. I, the true self, can never be objectified. तो ये एकदम ही unique study topic है. So our Shastras, they have a unique method of explaining something that can never be objectified, that can never be experienced. So why, like, I'll just explain this a little bit, that why this subject matter is so unique. Okay. See, the study of any subject other than the self, okay, it can have two stages because it is the object. It can be experienced, right? किसी भी और चीज का स्टडी हम लेंगे ना, तो it is something that can be experienced. The absolute self can never be experienced. Okay. So anything that can be experienced, so any other subject, there are two stages in which we can study them. Firstly, we get the information about that subject. Okay. Either through books or through teachers, somebody can tell us about it. तो पहले हमको information मिलता है. And then we can convert this information into direct experience by contacting the object, by getting in touch with the object. For example, suppose we read a book on temples, okay, temples of India. So through that book, we are getting information about the temples of India. So information मिल गया. अभी direct experience कैसे ले सकते हैं? We can just go and see the temples, experience them directly. So any other knowledge other than the knowledge of the self has either or both the stages, information stage and direct experience stage. But in the case of self-knowledge, there is no information and there is no direct experience also. Self-knowledge is not getting information about the self or directly experiencing it. Self-knowledge means just freedom from self-ignorance. कुछ भी बाहर से जानना नहीं है. We just have to remove the Ajnanam. That is self-knowledge. That is it. So, if we study the scriptures on our own, तो क्या होगा? We will get trapped in this information, what do you call, information direct experience dichotomy. So, we will either be trapped in information, कि हाँ हाँ नहीं, I want to, like, study more about it, read more about it. We are eternally trapped in the search of direct experience of the Atma, of the true self, which will never come. अभी भी abstract है. So Swamiji gives the example of Karna and Kunti. Okay. So we all know who is Karna and who is Kunti and what is their relation, right? किसी को नहीं मालूम है तो please send a message. I'll just explain. So Karna and Kunti. Swamiji gives this example. It will help make things much clearer. Okay. Now Karna does not know that he is Kunti's son. Okay. And when Kunti and Karna meet, okay, before the war, if you remember, Kunti goes to meet Karna. So when Kunti and Karna meet, Kunti informs Karna that I have got 6 children. So what does Karna say? Karna says that, oh, okay, I surely know 5 of them, the Pandavas. Obviously, I know 5 of them, but I don't know your 6th son. I don't know who's your 6th son. Therefore, O Kunti, I would like to know who is your 6th son. तो अभी वो क्या पूछ रहा है? Information. कि मुझे बताओ कि who is your 6th son. So I would like to know who is your 6th son and I would like to meet him. Meet him means direct contact. So first I want the information and I want direct contact, direct experience. Right? So first I want the information that who is your 6th son and thereafter I want direct contact. And to this, what would Kunti say? Kunti will say, O Karna, tat tvam asi. O Karna, that you are. You are only that sixth son. Okay, the sixth son is you yourself. Now imagine that, okay, after listening to this, after knowing this, imagine that Karna is saying that, okay, great. Now I have the information that I am the sixth son. Okay. So now Kunti, please tell me how I can directly go and meet your sixth son. Is it possible to directly meet him? There is no question. All these things seem absurd. Why? Because it is only the question of removal of ignorance regarding the sixth son. There is no question of the information and experience dichotomy in certain cases. Siraf agnan mita diya. He was agnani about the fact that he is the sixth son. Abhi wo agnan hi mita diya. The ignorance only is removed that he is the sixth son. Then there is no question of information. There is no question of direct experience, directly going and meeting. Right? अभी उसको कुछ किसी उसके सिक्स सन के बारे में कोई इंफॉर्मेशन की जरूरत नहीं है, उसको कहीं भी उसको मिलने जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. जस्ट द इग्नोरेंस इज रिमूव्ड कि अरे मैं ही वो हूं, तत्वम असि, आई एम ओनली दैट. So similarly, in gaining self knowledge also, there is nothing like I have to gain information and then get direct experience of it. No, nothing like this. It is just removal of ignorance. So Gnyaana Yoga is just removal of ignorance. कोई information नहीं, कोई direct experience नहीं, just removal of this agnyanam. Therefore, studying the Shastras, like scriptural study, is different from studying any other topic. And therefore, scriptural study, it requires a different type of operation, a different method, which we call Gnyaana Yoga. Let me share the slide. Can somebody tell me if you can see the slide? Okay. So, Gnyaana Yoga is the operation, the method in which we remove this ignorance. And this Gnyaana Yoga consists of threefold exercise, which is known as, first is Shravanam, second is Mananam, third is Nididhyasanam. Don't take these words lightly. Very, very important words. These three words are what Gnyaana Yoga is all about. These three words are the only thing that your study hereafter is all about. Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Shravanam gives Gnyanam. Okay? Shravanam gives self-knowledge. Yeah. Yes. Wow. Okay. Now the videos are on. Okay. So did anyone have a question? Okay. So Shravanam gives self-knowledge. Okay. And what does Mananam and Nididhyasanam do? In Mananam, through Mananam and Nididhyasanam, we gain firmly established, unshaken. श्रवणम से हमको सेल्फ नॉलेज मिल जाएगा, लेकिन मननम और निदिध्यासनम से वो नॉलेज assimilate होगा. It will become firmly established. Okay. So let us look at what is Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. That's okay. So let us start with Shravanam. So the word Shravanam only, it means expose. Shravanam matlab sunna, hai na? Shravan, sunna. So it just means exposing ourselves to scriptural teaching. Exposing ourselves to scriptural teaching, but handled by a competent guru who knows how to expertly handle and remove this wrong orientation of information and experience. So means we need a guru who makes it completely clear that there is nothing like, first I explain to you what is Atma in theory, and then you can go on the mountain and meditate, and in one lightning spark you will get direct experience. You will get this, nirvana. No, the guru needs to explain to you. He just simply needs to remove the misconception that you have about yourself and remove the ignorance about your true nature. So gaining Atma Gnyanam means through Shravanam, through listening to the guru. What are we doing? We are removing the adhyasa. Adhyasa means self misconception. हमें जो हमारे बारे में गलत फहमी है वो सारी रिमूव करते हैं गुरु. That is removing the adhyasa. That is the first part. And removing the ajnanam, removing the ignorance. So Shravanam means listening to someone who can help us gain self-knowledge by removing our self-ignorance. But this Shravanam, okay, this listening also has certain conditions. So randomly listening to some stray lectures here and there occasionally, that is not Shravanam. मतलब कभी कभी YouTube पे सुन लिया, कभी कभी किसी lecture में जाके सुन लिया. No, that is not Shravanam. So don't make that mistake. Shravanam is consistently exposing myself to the systematic teaching by an expert guide and for a length of time. So बहुत सारे conditions है. All these conditions are extremely important. What did I say? Consistently exposing myself to the systematic study by an expert guide, and that too for a length of time. So all these conditions are important. Firstly, it should be consistent. Consistent matlab regular. Every day. It has to be a part of your nitya karmas. So even if it is 5 minutes, dedicate some time, a fixed schedule. That ठीक है, 5 minutes to 5 minutes. But every single day, I am going to do some Shravanam. Okay? So that is first consistent. Then systematic. So systematic का मतलब क्या होता है? Systematic means in the form of a well-designed course, a well-designed curriculum. कि ये topic के बाद कौन सा topic आना चाहिए. So the topics should be taught in order. In what order, what manner, with what analogies, what examples. So that's it. You can't just randomly listen to things, right? It has to be systematic. So पहले अगर मैंने 5th standard का topic सिखा दिया and then if I teach the 1st standard topic, it will all be a waste, right? It has to be systematic in an order. Okay, so this is the second thing, and then by an expert guru. तो ये हमने बहुत बार बात की है इसके बारे में. श्रोत्रिय ब्रह्मनिष्ठ गुरु, ideally. So ideally we have to at least keep praying, keep asking God to give us a Shrotriya Brahmanishtha Guru. And if not such a Guru, then at least a teacher who is well versed in what is being taught. मतलब जो subject सिखा रहे हैं, the teacher has to be thorough in that subject. And the teacher has to be honestly practicing what the teacher is teaching. Okay. अगर श्रोत्रिय ब्रह्मनिष्ठ गुरु नहीं मिल रहे हैं तो at least it should be a teacher like this. And finally, the last condition was what? It should continue for a length of time. That means there are no crash courses in Vedanta. Okay? Crash courses cannot bring about transformation. Okay? Tick कर देगा कि हाँ ठीक है, हो गया introduction to Vedanta course. I still remember in the beginning of the course, I got so many questions like, why such a long course? It's just an introduction to Vedanta. Why a 1-year course? Why do we need 52 sessions for just the introduction to Vedanta? So, crash courses can never bring about transformation. So the minimum, I think they say, is 12 years. Because breaking the wrong habitual orientation that we have, breaking the habitual thinking pattern, that takes time and a systematic approach. Okay? Also, and even though Shravanam, it has to continue for a length of time, yet ideally क्या होता है? Ideally, according to the Shastras, ये जो Shravanam का जो period है ना, लंबा सा period, उस period में no questions are allowed. Ideally, you are not allowed to ask any questions in the Shravanam stage. In the Shravanam stage, we have to go with a complete open mind, keeping aside all our preconceived notions and just receive the teaching. Just receive the teaching. Just get the comprehensive teaching. Means just absorb the teaching from all the angles, all the aspects. So, in its totality, that is called Shravanam. So go to the Guru for the Shravanam with an empty teacup, like the Japanese story. So suna tha na 2-3 classes ke pehle. So you have to go with an empty teacup. We can't pour anything more in an already full cup. So we need to go to the Guru with an empty cup. Only then the Guru will be able to pour knowledge into it. Hence, we need to do Shravanam with an open mind. We need to surrender to the Guru and the teaching. Then only we can gain knowledge. We know, right, that Krishna and Arjun, they were together for their entire lives, right? Kitne sare saal they were together. But Krishna never gave him Gita Gnyanam in all those years. Why? He could have given Gnyanam in the comfort of their palaces. Agar tab nahi to, at least में तो बहुत time था. तब भी दे सकते थे Krishna. But why did he give Gnyanam in the middle of the battlefield? मतलब तब तो that was the most non-conducive environment, right? And that too, in the middle of the battlefield, he did not even start giving Gnyanam in the first chapter. Not even for the first 10 verses of the second chapter. Arjun was helplessly lamenting. Still, Krishna did not give a word of Gnyanam. But when did Krishna give? The moment Arjun surrendered to Krishna. The moment Arjun says, Shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. The moment he says this, that, oh Krishna, I surrender to you. I am your student. Please guide me. So the moment Arjun surrendered, Krishna blessed him with Gita Gnyanam. Hence, Shravanam should not be done with a preoccupied mind. Sharanagati, surrender, and open mind is a prerequisite for Shravanam. And again, remember, okay, that even if we are not able to accept a part of the teaching, even if we have got a doubt regarding a particular aspect of teaching, कि कुछ जो गुरु पढ़ा रहे हैं, जो टीचर सिखा रहे हैं, if we really don't accept it, still for now just absorb it. Okay, for the time being, ideally we need to keep aside our questions, our doubts. Maybe we can note them down somewhere for later reference. And without questioning, we have to just listen with an open mind. We are free to disagree with the teacher. Absolutely. Like there is no restriction like that in our Shastra. But for now, for this stage, for the process of Shravanam alone, we are asked to keep aside all our disagreements and just listen. Be patient. Shravanam requires a lot of patience. So we cannot come to a conclusion. We can never be judgmental or critical in the Shravanam stage. Again, this is not having blind faith. Okay, you don't have to blindly accept what the teacher says. The teacher is absolutely not negating your doubts or your questions or your disagreements. The teacher respects your doubts. Okay, it just means that for this process of Shravanam, keep them aside and you yourself will realize that most of your doubts, they get resolved as we do more and more Shravanam. आपको भी ये realize होगा ना that like we had so many questions in the beginning of our sessions, in the beginning of our course. But as we are moving further, more and more of our doubts, as we are doing more Shravanam, our getting resolved. So, क्योंकि क्या होता है, most of our Shastra, no, you take it Upanishad, you take the Bhagavad Gita, most of our Shastras, they are in the form of a dialogue. They are in the form of a dialogue between the student and the teacher. That is how our Shastras are. So, as we listen to the doubts which are raised by the student or the Purva Pakshi, the opponent in the Shastras, तो क्या होता है? The Guru in the Shastras, the Guru answers those questions or the Siddhantin. Then obviously most of our doubts also will get resolved like that, no? Because we will have the same doubts that the student is posing in the Shastras. You know? So by the time, we continue the Shravanam for a length of time, most of our doubts get resolved. And if certain doubts still don't get resolved, then they are addressed by the Guru in the next step, which is Mananam. Okay. So Shravanam samajh mein aa gaya? It's just listening with Sharanagati, listening with an open mind. Okay, we still have some time. We can take a Mananam also. Any doubts? You can send a message. ठीक है, तो Shravanam is clear. So Mananam is the second exercise. तो Mananam में क्या होता है? तो after comprehensively listening, okay, after exposure to the teaching for a length of time, हमें क्या करना है? We are making notes. Then we are studying the notes. we are revising and memorizing. तो वो सब करने में we are analyzing the teaching. श्रवणम में क्या किया? We were just absorbing. जैसे गाय या any other cattle, okay, what do? They first chew up, fatafat, they eat up all the grass or whatever is available to them, and then at ease, when there is leisure, they sit shanti se and they bring back and they chew it, right? I hope you all know this. So chew karte hai. That is what is mananam. So whatever we have studied, whatever we have listened to in Shravanam, after making notes, after studying those notes, after revising and memorizing, and after analyzing the teaching for a length of time, then we should bring out all our unresolved questions, all our doubts. So as we spoke earlier, the beauty of this teaching is mostly by the time we complete the study systematically, doubts will not be there only, because scriptures themselves handle the possible questions. And that is why it is in the form of the dialogue between Guru and Shishya, Guru-Shishya Samvada. So the Shishya will have the same doubts that the students we have, and the Guru will answer them to the complete satisfaction and clarity of the students. So by studying the Shastras, automatically our doubts get resolved. Now, even after a long period of time, or even after a long period of Shravanam, if we still have doubts, okay, if we still have certain concepts, anything that is unresolved, that makes us restless, we have full freedom to ask. We can analyze, we can inquire with our rational mind, with our logical mind, with our scientific mind, our intellect. जिधर से भी scrutinize करना है, ये जो भी श्रवणम में सुना है, just scrutinize it however you want in its full scope. And then we can ask any question that we want. The teacher is available to answer, to help the student in removing all the doubts. Because doubts are the obstacles to knowledge. है ना? So Mananam removes all the obstacles in the form of doubts or unclear concepts, any kind of questions, okay? So intellectual mind में, intellect में जो भी questions आते हैं, those are removed through Mananam. And knowledge is converted into doubtless knowledge or strong conviction. तब तक थोड़ा सा भी doubt रहेगा ना मन में, तब तक conviction ही नहीं आएगा. और जब तक कोई चीज का conviction नहीं आता है, तब तक हम we can never get the benefit out of it, right? We can never assimilate it. So we'll always keep doubting. So Mananam is that phase when all our doubts are removed. पहले तो हमें ही खुद नोट्स बनाने हैं, हमें ही खुद हमारा स्टडी रिविजिट करना है, हमें ही खुद हमारे डाउट्स रिमूव करने हैं. उसके बाद जो भी डाउट्स रह जाते हैं, you are absolutely free to go and ask the teacher. And not once, not twice, n number of times. जब तक ये doubt absolutely clear नहीं हो जाता है, तब तक you can keep going, keep asking. So after the stage of Mananam, what happens? The knowledge becomes crystal clear, absolutely clear. जो भी श्रवणम में सुना था, वो absolutely clear हो जाता है, जिससे we get conviction, we get totally convinced. फिर कोई भी आके हमें बोलेगा कि नहीं नहीं ये गलत है, you will be able to debate, you will be able to explain that why it is not wrong, why it should be the way it is taught. ठीक है? तो आज बहुत सारा श्रवणम हो गया ना? I mean, it's not yet time, but lot of abstract concepts. So we still have 5 minutes. We can ask doubts, okay? So if any doubts, please feel free to ask.
Charvi ji, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Okay. The thing that we have learned through your sessions is detachment. Detachment from expectations and the results, both. But when you do something, like you are being a human being, you plan something, you want to realize something, or you want to get some output out of some event. So you have that certain set of expectations, and that is actually your driving force to achieve that goal. So it is like eating your pie and keeping it too. So how to do that? I try to do that, but वो ह्यूमन नेचर आ ही जाता है, एक्सपेक्टेशन आ जाती है, एक्सपेक्टेशन आ जाती है तो कंपटीशन आ जाता है, कंपटीशन आ जाता है तो जेलसी आ जाती है. बार बार अपने आप को करेक्ट कर रहे होते हैं कि नहीं, दिस इज नॉट करेक्ट, थोड़ा पीछे हटते हैं, बट अगेन दैट अचीविंग गोल, सो बहुत मुश्किल है.
Right. So this is a very, very important question. See, Shastra does not say कि goal नहीं set करना है. Okay. That is, in fact, Shastra says that Mudha also, even a madman, prayojanam vina, even a madman does not do anything. Without any purpose, even a madman won't do anything. So, goal set करना है, कुछ भी हम करें. The idea is you do not get attached to that goal. Okay. Say we are giving a test, say we are giving some exam or something, or maybe we are pitching for a project, और हमने ऐसा goal set किया that I get this project. That is our goal. The idea is do not get attached to that goal. What would be the result of whatever you are getting? There are 4 possible outcomes. या तो you get it. See, there are anything that you do know, there are only 4 possible outcomes. Either you get exactly what you had aimed for, or you get less than what you had aimed for, or you get more than what you had aimed for, or you get completely opposite to what you had aimed for. ठीक है? तो दो में तो if you get exactly as you had aimed for, तो कोई problem नहीं, you are happy, no problem. If you get more than what you had aimed for, तो be happy, no problem. लेकिन अगर दूसरे 2 results आए, say you got less than or completely opposite to what you had aimed for, that is when the problem comes. So if you are attached to the result, if you have expectations, you are attached to the result, then it is going to be very, very difficult. That is where karma yoga, the bhavana of Ishvara Arpana, that is the key to removing all these, the arising of the Shadvairis out of expectation. Expectation is nothing but raga, right? So anything that you do, say you are pitching for a project, give your best, but then offer it to Ishvara. जैसे मंदिर में जाते हैं तो फूल या कुछ भी लेके जाते हैं भगवान के लिए, like that, the task that you are doing as those flowers that I am offering to Ishvara. उसके बाद बस भगवान को दे दिया, उसके बाद जो रिजल्ट आना है प्रसाद भावना से लेना है. That is the cure, that is the remedy for what problem you are asking. And this will, Nandini ji, it will not come immediately. Obviously, because since so many janmas we have been thinking in this way only. So many janmas ka attachment hota hai. Our patterns are only like that, है ना? To keep on expecting. But this is the key, okay? Ishwar arpana. Kuch bhi karo, Ishwar arpana. It completely detaches. Right? So, again, very important. You remember that it is never that we don't have a goal. बस उससे अटैच नहीं हो जाना है. अपने बच्चों को कैसे बड़ा करना है. We have goals for everything. But if the child turns out otherwise, it's okay. Accept that also as prasad. Give your best in raising your child. But after that, also Ishwar arpana. You're muted, Nandini ji.
The same is the cure for that thing also. Ki since I am in this activity, or since I am there, and that is why it is happening. मैं हूं तो अच्छा हो रहा है, मैं नहीं होता तो शायद इतना अच्छा नहीं होता. तो उससे ऑब्जेक्टिव तो कहीं और रह जाता है, and that मैं becomes more important.
Okay. So I am the karta bhavna. The karta bhavna. I am the doer. I am doing this. I am doing that.
बहुत काम करना है अभी. Thank you.
All right, we'll end the session. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om.